My name is Tim Carter, a pastor at Landmark Missionary Baptist Church in Jacksonville, Arkansas. And fascinating is our age of knowledge and information and data, especially when I present lessons like this for young folks, especially junior high, early high school levels. And they just look at me, not as much here in our congregation where they've grown upwardly, but as people come into our church, they're shocked that the Bible already teaches about the expanding universe, teaches about relativity, the time day is 1,000 years, 1,000 years is a day. And for example, I received these two separate clocks. You notice the one over here, this one here, it's moving faster than this one. You say, well, how's that possible? Well, other than the fact I removed a battery from one, I want you to play along for a moment. How these clocks have the same time measures, same increments, same units, minutes, seconds, hours even, or as these forms of incrementalized expression were developed, we now can theoretically say, well, what would a clock look like on ancient years ago on early Earth? Well, it would be moving very slowly, if you will, because as the rotation of the Earth was sometimes, some estimates are as 4 times faster maybe, then time would have slowed on the Earth. And today, since the expansion has taken place now for quite some time, no pun intended, but in measurements that we're finding difficult to express, since our Earth rotation is slowed down and then the acceleration of the expansion is slowed, time has accelerated. And you would say, oh my, we're aging faster. Yes, but time being relative is not anything new for students of the Bible. And for example, the rotation of our Earth, that's not anything we don't know about. We have things like atomic clocks and things like that. And then as you realize there's motion now in expansion, as I teach the young folks, and especially those young people that come into the church who have fancy calculators that look like computers. My TI Inspire, I keep it in this little box and locked up. People laugh, but when I was their age, we didn't have a calculator that was also a computer. Well, we didn't have these computers and things. So it's famously popular for them to own technology that even surpasses technology that was deployed for space travel. And yes, that's difficult for them to accept that they have more technology in their small computer. But when we include the Bible in the conversation, I was trying, and well, I did show the children, the young people, that the Bible is relevant to this conversation. And that's why I'm even on YouTube showing our young people, because they're like, can't I just look at that on a YouTube video? I'm like, okay, so my oldest son taught me what a YouTube video was and how to present that. And this little formula right here, which I think you can see it, but I'll have it written in the description. So I just wanted to factor in the Bible, since I told them that unless they went to seminary like I did, you won't have the Bible factored into this argument about age. That is, you won't have the ratio or the relativity of 1 day to 1,000 years. And so I have an age 1 is 6 to 20,000. That's plus or minus. This is a rather imprecise number. And then we have over here 4.5 billion years. That's age 2. Well, when you plug it in using this ratio of relativity that's already in the scriptures, and it says as 1,000 years, not is 1,000 years, so that has the relative idea of the number. You have the number of years we come to is 12,500, so if you want a number that's somewhat precise rather than this large, very, very vague expression. So I took 360-day year, a lunar year this time, just because it kept my arithmetic and these small numbers more simple. So at 12,500 years times 360 days, we came up with 4.5 million days times years. That's how we get 4.5 billion. But rather I worked this direction so that we could get this unknown number here. The children know in arithmetic that to solve an equation you take your constants and you can find the answer to your variable, like x plus 2 equals 4. Well, we want to solve it for x. So in this equation, I wanted to solve it for age 1, which was the unknown number. And this is how the interstellar paradox, as I'd like to call it, according to special relativity, is taught in the Bible. So I call it Bible relativity, and resolving the interstellar paradox between a 4.5 billion year old Earth and a 13.7 billion year old universe. How are those two things different in age when they came into existence at the same time? Because that's a good question for a theologian who respects the fact that theologians developed the science, the calculus, the physics, the chemistry that we use today. So quickly, because I found out the young folks don't like a lot of minutes on their YouTube videos. They say, oh, come on, get that done in a few minutes or less. So I just said, well, let's plug this in, because remember the relativity. So I reversed it. Instead of a day as 1,000, I put 1,000 years as one day, changed years to days and days to years, and plugged it in, and came up with a universe of 12.3 billion years. Now, it's not the number 13.7, but as I was showing the children, I'm just using arithmetic from mathematics that's used in science, and that as it involves the Bible. The Bible didn't give us mathematics in the sense of precise numbers by which to calculate. It just gave me this ratio. So now you can see, well, why in the world would we have differences in ages between the Earth and the universe? Because that's really the question that I was working with long before, I think, the quite incidental question of the age disparity that people allege exists. When you're talking about a clock and you're talking about time, a clock is not time. So when you give an expression of, let's say, 12,500 years, that has nothing to do with how much time transpires, and it has nothing to do with saying, well, a day equals billions or a day equals whatever. No, it's the relativity that God told us, that a day is like 1,000. So I stay within the 1,000-year framework. For example, when in the day in which Adam ate, God said he would die. Well, some people who say they believe the Bible literally but then don't take the Bible seriously then say, well, how did Adam not die within 24 hours? And I said, well, Adam died within 1,000 years, 930, and the oldest man to ever live, Methuselah, 969, died within the day also. So as the Earth now is slowed, and pay attention, young folks, get your calculators out, at 1,770 kilometers per hour rotation rate today, when it was rotating, let's say, 4 times faster, that would have made a day like only 6 hours long, except the measurement, the increments of that day would have remained the same, and the time itself. So how could a day be shorter and more time transpire? Well, that's answered by the scriptures. Time is not constant, and science has discovered that now and caught up with us who believed it already in the Bible. So that's enough, but my math teachers would be laughing at me right now. And yes, when I was told by Dr. John Penn, if you had the numbers, you could express this in a formula. Well, I know, and I took the challenge, and as his graduate assistant, I seemed to take him too seriously. But just remember, I'll have these formulas, these simple arithmetic expressions in the description, and enjoy correcting the math, enjoy tweaking it, try a 365-day year, try starting with the 13.7 billion and see if you can work out the difference between the 12.3 that I demonstrated, 12.3 billion universe, and a 4.5 billion Earth. And maybe it's the relativity between the Earth might not be 4.5, it could be 4.2, and you could do that. But enjoy knowing that the Bible's already taught and established the relativity of time, that time's not constant. We know that from the ages of people that lived on the earth, and yet they still, in their hundreds, fathered children, which would not be possible if they were actually aging and according to a rate of decay that we know today. So have a blessed day and enjoy this lesson. I'm sorry it was so simply expressed, but it's profound. It wasn't intended to be taken into a science class. You don't want to do that, because involving a ratio from the Bible would probably not be something today's science classes are inclined to do. There seems to be a lot of hostility between religion and atheists, which is causing a lot of frustration for scientists and theologians. But you guys have a blessed day. Enjoy those calculators and enjoy this video.